This is the issue, and I am the ghetto man. I'm in the control room again. But with the elections just a day away, I asked myself a question. And as I look at people, as they talk about the candidates running for office, and they talk about these people, what their platform is, that the Democrats, they want to leave the borders open, and they also want to take away our gun rights and all this stuff. For me, I've been at this for 45 years. I've taught constitutional law and courtroom procedure, taught people how to use the courts for many, many years. 45 years now, I have been looking at this issue. And the one thing that I just can't seem to understand is that the mass majority of people have no idea whatsoever on how to pick a candidate. One that is going to take the oath of office and then honor that oath. Today we have, the Democrats and the Republicans, this two-party system, which is really just one party with two names. And today we have a president that has pretty much disrupted this order of things, the two sides of the same coin. And we hear people out there all the time saying, oh, if the Democrats get in, they're going to take our guns and they're going to do this and they're going to do that. Well, that brings me to the subject of qualification. How in the world does one tell whether a person running for office is really qualified for that office or qualified to serve in any office in the United States today? Well, it all comes down to the oath. Now, I've done a video on the oath of office called Oath of Office, Know the Law, Know Your Enemy. The problem today is that the people who are out here voting, whether they be Democrats or Republicans, most of them haven't got a clue what the law is or how the law works. I run into it all the time as I post things on the social media platforms. I'll have people say to me, oh, well, like the Second Amendment, we can go ahead and they can just use the amendment process and amend it away. Well, that's ridiculous. And I've done done videos on that as well, as far as the Bill of Rights can't be altered or abolished under any circumstances whatsoever. So the problem that we have today is we have people who open and notoriously run for office, and they're clearly not qualified. But the general public has no idea that they're not qualified. Why? They don't understand what is expected when a person takes office. Well, first of all, if a person is running for office and their platform is, well, let's say, when I get in, I'm going to pass gun control legislation. When a candidate runs for office, that candidate must be able to qualify taking the oath of office. Now, there's no way that anybody that promotes democracy, open and notoriously, the Democratic Party promotes democracy, can ever qualify to hold an office either in the state or in the United States government. Just their party alone, the fact that they call themselves Democrats and they promote democracy and they want to establish a democracy, is already, before they take the oath, a violation of that oath. How could somebody who claims that they promote a foreign and alien ideology like democracy, how can that person run around saying what we're going to do when we get in is we're going to make all these social programs and we're going to do all these things that, under our law, constitutional law, are forbidden? Even the discussion prior to election that you're going to amend a right or get rid of a right or whatever they're going to do to the Bill of Rights, or you're going to bring in a democracy, which would be in violation of Article 4, Section 4 of the United States Constitution. When these people speak, there should be an outrage by those who are not members of any political party. I call them political atheists. Gerald Celente came up with that saying, and I've adopted it. I'm a political atheist. What I'm concerned with is whether or not the person that we elect is going to be able to stand up, hold their right hand up, and say, "I solemnly swear to uphold and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic." If their political persuasion runs amok of that, in other words, Democrats, they promote democracy. Now, how can a Democrat who promotes democracy raise his right hand and swear an oath to the Republic when they've already told you through their political persuasion, their party, that they're going to bring in a foreign and alien ideology, democracy, which, by the way, our founding fathers absolutely hated it. They considered it not one of the worst forms of government. They considered it the worst form of government there is. Thomas Paine, the father of our revolution, he said a democracy is the vilest form of government there is. The vilest. And I've got videos on democracy to show you that democracy can never be a form of government. It's just a process by which you get something else. Now, in our constitutional republic, we have the right to freedom of speech. You can talk on any subject you want to. You can talk on communism, fascism, socialism, everything else. You can even run around and hand out flyers and tell everybody, that what we really need is a communist or socialist form of government. Socialized medicine, Social Security, just socialism everywhere you look. But you see, it's okay that they talk about these things, but when they take their oath of office, when they go into the office to serve we the people, all of that political persuasion is left out. And it's left out by them swearing an oath that they'll leave it out. I solemnly swear to uphold and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Which means if they support democracy, once they take the oath, the only thing that they can support and promote is a Republican form of government as mandated or guaranteed under Article 4, Section 4 of the United States Constitution. That's all they can do. They can't bring their political persuasion into office once they've taken the oath. Because once they've taken that oath, they're bound to it. They cannot evade it. To do so, at the very least, is perjury. Now, I'm trying to get people to understand this. It's so important to understand, once that oath has been taken, you cannot bring your political persuasion in. You have taken an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, then that's what you have to do. Now, after you serve us and you protect and uphold our Constitution, protect the Bill of Rights, protect everything that this country was founded upon, then when you get out of office, you can go back to preaching your anti-American extremist ways. The problem that we have in the United States today, and this is the biggest problem, is that we have a population that has no idea what the law is, has no idea what our history is, has no idea what the Constitution means and how it works. They think that all they have to do is establish a political party like democratic socialism, which is like saying that a woman can be a virgin whore. You can't mix the two. Democracy, which is the majority rule, does not exist in a socialist system. So to mix the two together is just ridiculous. And it is prima facie evidence that those who are running for that political party are not going to honor their oath. And they should be called on that, not after they've taken the oath, but before they've taken the oath. They need to be called on the fact, the obvious fact, that they do not qualify to serve in any office or any capacity in any state or the United States because they cannot take the oath without committing perjury. How difficult is that? So when I sit back here and I watch all of these political parties running around claiming that this is what they're going to do. Well, when the Democrats get back in office, they're going to grab the power. Power. I mean, they're telling you that they have no intentions of upholding and defending the Constitution in any way, shape, or form. They're telling you that. We're going to take the power, and then when we take the power, we're going to violate the Constitution. When they take that oath, and they do anything other than honor that oath, it's perjury, and I believe it's also treason. Just recently I had there was somebody, I had gone over to Facebook. I hadn't been on there in a long time, but I went over there when Gab was off just so I could go ahead and trigger some commie-crats. That's what I call the Democratic Party, because that's all they promote is communism. The commie-crats. And as a Vietnam vet, as a Vietnam vet, I fought the communists. Okay? I fought them. And it offends me that 58,220 of my fellow service men and women died fighting the communist. Now, here in the United States, the communists call themselves Democrats, and now I've got to fight them here. And these communists think that they can go ahead and be elected in the office, call themselves Democrats, call them whatever they want to call themselves, then get in and then fill the courts, fill the legislature, fill the executive branch full of communists. And Project Veritas has already proven that they've already infiltrated. Joe McCarthy, he tried to warn the American people back in the 50s that the communists were infiltrating the film industry and all the various different branches of government at every level. But what did they do? They ridiculed him and told him, oh, you're just on a witch hunt. Now our government is completely filled with communists. Both parties. The Democratic Party is the Communist Party. That's why I call them commie-crats. The Republican Party, on the other hand, is what? It's filled with a bunch of communists as well. Well, we refer to them as rhinos, meaning Republican in name only. I refer to them as undocumented Democrats or undocumented commie-crats. The American people need to wake up. In order to take that oath, you must uphold and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And if you're out here preaching like Bernie Sanders, how in hell, that's a good question, Bernie Sanders, how in the hell did a socialist, an open, notorious socialist, get into office? And he's still pushing the socialist stuff, and he did take an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, didn't he? He's a traitor. He's commit perjury, and nobody says anything. They're all worried, oh, God, if the Democrats get anyone, they're going to do this. The Democrats, there isn't a Democrat on this planet that could qualify to hold office in any state or any office in the United States whatsoever. They cannot qualify. Their political persuasion, the things that they promote, tell you that they're unqualified. And then we sit here and say, well, we're going to have this election and we're going to go ahead and it's going to be a red wave. It's going to be a landslide. The people who support Trump are going to win. The people who are supporting Trump, when it really comes down to it, are people who do not want to deal with either party. Trump is as a populist. He's come out of nowhere. It's an independent. He's a wild card. Now, he's not perfect by any means. I mean, there are things that I really have some issues with him, but all in all, he's doing a hell of a lot better job than any Democrat or Republican did before him. I mean, the guy, he understands the art of war like he knows the back of his hand. I've studied Sun Tzu's work. 2,500 years ago, it was set. This Sun Tzu laid out the strategies for the art of war, and you can use them in life. You can use them anywhere. And Donald Trump knows how to do that. And I look at Donald Trump as an opportunity to bide us some time, to educate the masses in this country as to what it is to be a responsible citizen in our constitutional republic. Now, I know I'm not one of the most popular guys on the internet when it comes to constitutional issues, because what I have to say, it lays an enormous amount of responsibility on the individual. It means that they're going to have to stand up and do that, what a sovereign individual needs to do. You know, when gun laws are passed, they're unconstitutional. They can't even pass a law that even so much as remotely infringes on your right to have a weapon to defend yourself, your life, liberty, and property, and to defend your nation. When you got a bunch of idiots like the commie-crats running around here wanting to turn this country into a communist hellhole. You don't have to obey an unconstitutional law. Now, grant you, these people who have usurped the power, who've taken the oath and have violated, that pass laws that infringe on our rights, the restrictions that were placed on government against touching the natural inalienable rights that every one of us has on the planet. People start talking about repealing or amending the Second Amendment. It's ridiculous. The Second Amendment didn't grant anybody any rights. Those rights existed without the Second Amendment. It was a secondary restriction, a clause that restricted government from ever thinking about tampering with that. And then an oath of office is taken to make sure that you understand that and that you agree, under the penalties of perjury, that you will uphold and defend that. Not to mention that there is the rights existed, and the Bill of Rights existed. They exist whether there's a constitutional or not. Bill of Rights didn't create the rights. That's why it can never be amended or repealed, because the Constitution didn't create or grant those rights. How do you repeal or amend rights that the Constitution did not create? Article 5 only allows you to deal with those things that were created under the Constitution. The Bill of Rights was put in there to make sure. Read the preamble of the Bill of Rights. I have a video out called Bill of Rights, the Preamble. And you can see that the Bill of Rights did not create the right. And that you hear the Democrats or the commie-crats running around, and even some of the rhinos and the undocumented Democrats in the Republican Party, and they're saying that they have a right to go ahead and amend and appeal this. Excuse me. They have a right to amend or repeal the Second Amendment, or any other amendment they do. I get it all the time. People even on Gab, they'll say, well, we got this amendment process. They don't know the law. They don't understand it. We need to start pointing out that people that are running for office, like this wacko, this commie-crat, Beto O'Rourke. You got an Irishman who changes his first name to Beto, so everybody out there thinks that he's Hispanic or something. What a con job. And they believe him. They just go ahead and vote for him. And why do people vote for people like Beto? Because of the colleges. The colleges are filled full of traitorous professors, Marxist professors, that think they have a right to teach our children to commit insurrection, rebellion, and treason against the Union. They tell the kids that they go out there and riot and go against this capitalistic system. The only reason that our country is failing today, one reason only, and that's because the Constitution is not followed at all. We've established all 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto in our country. We practice communism exactly the way Karl Marx outlined it in the Communist Manifesto, to the T. I have a series of videos that start with communism, an introduction, and we go through every one of the planks and show you how you and I practice all 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto in its entirety, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year. And then people sit there and say, well, the capitalistic system, look at what it's doing. This isn't the capitalistic system you're seeing. You're seeing a complete microcosm of a communist system. I mean, from everything from our property rights, income tax, the central banking system, the Department of Transportation, all these things, even free education in public schools. It's all communism, every bit of it. But nobody knows that. And it's been implemented because people don't know how the law works. Now, once you do, and you know that what the government has done is illegal, why in the world would you obey it? It seems to me that you would challenge it. I mean, I've been doing that all my life. And for myself, I've lived a good life, and I've lived a free life. And I continue to do so, and I'm 67 now, and I plan on living to be 100. But if you don't have the intestinal fortitude to stand up for your constitutionally protected rights as a sovereign citizen when they pass a law. I mean, all these cannabis laws that are out here outlawing cannabis, they're totally unconstitutional. Everybody's waiting around. Well, if we can legalize it, we can do this. They have no right to make it illegal in the first place. And if they could make it illegal, they'd have to do it by constitutional amendment, the real process. But the Constitution itself does not grant the authority for the United States government to create all these various different agencies like the DEA. There's no provision in the Constitution for the DEA, let alone an army of law enforcement agents that are going to go around beating people's heads in because they happen to enjoy a plant that was given to them by their God or by nature, however way you want to look at it. They are out here imposing taxes. I mean, we're not even allowed to be taxed in this country except with gold and silver coin. That's the only thing that the government can extract from us. The United States government's the only one that can create it. And they don't do it. In fact, what they did is practicing the fifth plank of the Communist Manifesto, we created a central bank, the Federal Reserve, that handles all the credit and has a complete monopoly. See, people sit there and say, well, corporations are private, and therefore they can do certain things. And once again, there's the idiocy that corporations are private, when corporations are clearly creations of the state. They're creatures of the state. The state creates them. They don't exist until they get permission from the government by way of a charter to operate. And once they become a corporation, which is just an extension of government, the government can go in there, look at books and records anytime they want, and they can go ahead and pass regulations on those corporations. They can regulate them out of existence. They can revoke their charter. They are not private. And when a corporation violates somebody's life, liberty, or property, or a constitutionally protected inalienable right like freedom of speech, like what Google and Twitter and Fascist Book and the rest of these fascist corporations, because fascism is what? It's the merging of corporations and government. And you can't have a bigger merger than a corporation, because why? The government creates it. The government regulates it. And for the government to go ahead and turn a blind eye to a corporation that clearly is discriminating against somebody's rights, privileges, and immunities that are guaranteed by the United States Constitution, that these discriminatory practices have to be treated the same way. It doesn't matter if they're going against you because you're black or you're Oriental or you're white or you're Christian or you're homosexual. It doesn't matter. They can't discriminate. And if they do, their charters can be revoked. They can be fined. They can be broken up. So what we do is we sit here and we sit here and we say, well, we hope that the Democrats don't get in because they're going to bring in gun control and open borders and all this filth. Instead of saying, these Democrats, these socialist Democrats, these rhinos, they do not have a political standing in our republic at all. At all. They cannot, without committing perjury or treason, take an oath of office. And they're telling you before they're even running. These people need to be challenged from the very beginning that Democrats cannot run for an office in this country because they cannot qualify to take the oath. Well, I think I've said enough, but I just wanted to point that out because it's been very frustrating for me over 45 years of trying to explain people that just because a party gets in the office and that party has stacked the deck, whether it be in the legislature or in the courts or even the executive branch, so that they can go ahead and run with their unconstitutional ideas, doesn't mean that they can't be removed from office. As citizens, we need to start filing criminal charges against any politician that takes that oath and then decides to not honor it. In the oath itself, it says that you're not doing it for the purpose of evading the oath. And the moment they take the oath and then they go in there and start talking about gun control and this and that, they need to be removed from office. They don't qualify. They've committed perjury. They need to go to prison. And that's not going to happen until people in this country wake up and understand that all the power that Democrats want and Republican wants, doesn't belong to them. It doesn't belong to those parties. It belongs to us. The Constitution of the United States is a contract. Constitution, covenant, contract, synonymous terms. That all means the same thing. It's a contract. And when someone signs a contract, they're bound to it. And when they violate that contract, then there's a problem. And that's what we have today. We have people that are voting for parties that don't understand that those parties do not have a legal right to operate in a way that they can enter into office and bring their political beliefs and ideas with them and then violate their oath and then try to circumvent the Constitution. I'm getting tired of it. I'm getting tired of people telling me, oh, the city council just passed this law that said banning all guns from all public places. And I say, well, that's unconstitutional. I'll still carry my gun. And I'll carry it however I please to carry it. It's my gun. It's my body. It's my life. And no political party has a right to just come in here and circumvent that. That's treason. It's perjury. I am the Ghetto Man. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel.